Buenas tardes con todos. I am Maria Rosa Vaquerizo. I'm the CEO of the Andean American Associations, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to today's program. The program is hosted and organized by the Ecuadorian American Association, a very important and timely conversation with Sonsoles Garcia, Ecuador's Minister of Production, Foreign Trade, Investment, and Fisheries. Minister, we're honored to have you and that you took time from your busy agenda to spend it with our members and friends and to participate in our forum. The minister will converse with analyst Alejandro Arreaza. We're very grateful to you, to both of you, for your participation. And I want to give you a few words about the Ecuadorian American Association. It was founded in 1932, making it the very first Chamber of Commerce in the US for Ecuador. And the association hosts timely and informative programs featuring the leaders of Ecuador. It's celebrating this year its 92nd anniversary. We're grateful for the interest that our programs generate. And today we have 140 registrants for this program, and we welcome a distinguished list of participants, including Banco Pichincha Miami Agency, a leadership circle member represented by our director, Pablo Vallejo. We have with us Patrice Guiol, president of APAX. We're honored to welcome representatives of the governments of Ecuador, Hungary, and the US. Also, representatives from financial institutions. We have today with us Barclays, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Mitsui, SMBC Group, State Group, Sumitomo, and UBS. We have with us multinational and key institutions such as Inter-American Development Bank, the Institute of International Finance, the International Monetary Fund, United Nations, World Bank. For rating agencies, today we have S&P Global, and the universities that are accompanying us today, we have Georgetown, Iowa State, and UDLA, de Ecuador. For the media, we have Bloomberg and Ecuador News. Welcome to each and every one of you. And thank you again for your interest in our programs. Please note that our speakers' remarks are their own views and are not expressions or positions of the Ecuadorian American Association. For the Q&A, following the presentation, you may write your questions at any time by means of the Q&A button at the end of the, if you can see the button there, you can write it at any time, and the questions will be addressed following the presentations. Now, it is my pleasure to present to you the president of the Ecuadorian American Association, Juana Caicedo Selinger, Senior Vice President at UBS Financial Services in New York. Juana, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Maria Rosa. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you to Minister Sonsoles Garcia and to you all for being here today. We at the Ecuadorian Chamber of Commerce, Ecuadorian American Association, are proud to be supporting our country for over 92 years. Even more so today, when Ecuador as a nation is living through one of the most challenging times. We are honored to have the opportunity to hear from our guest, the Minister of Production, Foreign Trade, Investment, and Fisheries of Ecuador, Ms. Sonsoles Garcia, about the present state of affairs of foreign investments and trade. She will also be devoting her time to answer questions from the audience and at the end of the comments. I would like to introduce briefly our speaker and moderator. Minister Sonsoles Garcia León, throughout her professional career, has served as director of the Ecuadorian Federation of Exportes FedExport at its headquarters in Guayaquil. She has been also director of the OES program in the National Customs Service of Ecuador and the Association of Ecuadorian Fruit and Vegetable Producers. She was president of the Foreign Trade, Custom and Investment Policy Commission of the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC, Ecuador. She is a columnist for the Universal newspaper and member of Global Americas. Alejandro Arriaza is a Latin American economist at Berkeley. Based in New York, he is responsible for the firm's macroeconomic coverage of the Andean, Central America, and Caribbean economies. He is a regular contributor for CNN in Espanol, Bloomberg News, the Financial Times, and other newspapers on Latin America economics and politics. He has been ranking among Latin American top economists in the Institutional Investor Survey. And now, Alejandro, the floor is yours to start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita and Maria Rosa, for the introduction. Thank you, Minister Garcia, for being with us here today. I think this event is very timely as the government is reaching its first 100 days in office. So it's probably the appropriate time to make a preliminary balance of what has happened over the last 3 months, and what could be the challenges and opportunity lying ahead. The minister plays a critical role within the cabinet. She's the main actor and counterparty between the government and the private sector. And as you know, well, the government has made significant progress in recent weeks and months in terms of advancing on macroeconomic adjustment measures, and also looking for support from multilateral organizations. But in the medium and long term, the sustainability of many of these efforts will clearly depend on the capacity of the country to attract private investment to generate growth and economic prosperity for the majority of the citizens. And that's probably the critical area in which the minister has been working on. She's just coming back from Canada, where she was with the president in events and activities in which they had the opportunity to interact with investors from different sectors. So I think, Minister, this is probably a great opportunity to hear from you about the progress that you have made, and also what will be the main challenges and opportunities that you have ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alejandro. Thank you, Maria Rosa, Juana, and everyone for having me in the Ecuadorian American Association. It's a pleasure for me that I can share with you all the experience that I have recovered in these past 100 days that we've been in this minister. I have a presentation that I would like to share with you. So thank you so much. So if you are able to pass it to, thank you. And the next, thank you. So to be brief and to be able to recapture what we've done in these first 100 days since President Noboa was elected and take since inauguration day, we were able to pass or ratify 2 free trade agreements, one with China and the other one with Costa Rica. They were in the Constitutional Court for the constitutional review, and it went well. And afterwards, it had to go to the National Assembly for the ratification. So we were able to obtain ratification for both FTAs between Ecuador and China, and Ecuador and Costa Rica. The first thing that I want to say about the FTA with China is that its most access to market agreement. Moreover, Costa Rica is an FTA itself, because we have all the chapters included, public procurement, we have services, in Costa Rica's FTA, while in China, we only have access to markets. So the view of President Novoa with this FTA is to be able to boost competitiveness, to be able to employ the generation of Ecuadorians between 18 and 29, which is one of the priorities of the government, and President Novoa have said in different forums that he's very interested to attract this generation of young people to have opportunities, not only in education, but in employment as well. So that was one of our main objectives in what we did in Canada, was to express to Ecuadorians living in Canada and to Canadian companies that are willing to invest in Ecuador, is that opportunities have to go not only in the employment sector or way, but also in the opportunities on how Canada can attract young people to study abroad, and also how Canadian companies that are investing in Ecuador can also give opportunities to Ecuadorians to go to Canada or other countries in order to have an opportunity to have unemployment. We also want to dynamize our exportable supply, because right now we have, top 6-7 products that we are exporting since 40 years ago that haven't changed a lot. We do not have a lot of added value products, so we are trying to dynamize how our exportable supply is. It's right now, and also investment promotion. The other, please. Thank you. So what we are seeing as a government right now in the trade agenda is that we already pre-signed an FTA with South Korea, that it is an FTA itself, as we signed with Costa Rica. We are starting negotiation rounds with Canada on April this year. We are also signing an FTA with Dominican Republic, and we are starting negotiations probably second semester of 2024. And I was, a few weeks ago, I went to Abu Dhabi for MC13 of the WTO, and I was able to gain the recognition and the interest of United Arab Emirates to have an FTA with Ecuador that we hope that we can do in a fast track and complete it in this 2024. Next, please. And another thing that I really want to remark about how this minister is trying to attract investments. Even though the last semester of 2023 was really bad, we reached $206 million in foreign investment. Right now, we've signed investment protection agreements for 247 million, which were signed in the last 3 months that we've been in the government. And right now, what we did in Canada with these APAs is to have 6 agreements signed by 6 mining companies that are investing in Ecuador. The investment was for more than $4.8 billion, creating more than 4,000 jobs. And all of these projects are sustainable mining. The next, please. Thank you. So what we are trying to promote from Ecuador is we are strategically positioned for international trade. Not only that Ecuador has FTAs with different countries, even though we do not have an FTA with the US right now, we are pursuing one, and we hopefully will be able to reach an FTA with the US probably between 2024 and 2025. We know it's election year, so it's not a good time to enter into negotiations with the US, but still we are on that way. And also we think that probably 2025 will be a good year to start negotiations for an FTA with the US. So right now, Ecuador, not only that has FTAs with other countries in South America, it has an FTA with the EU, we have it with EFTA countries, we have it with the UK, we are signing one with Canada, we have one with China, with South Korea. So we are a very small nation that has understood that our internal market is not enough for the amount of production that Ecuador has the potential to offer. So that being said, we understand the need to open to new markets, and that's why the trade agenda of Ecuador has been so aggressive in the position to try to sign new FTAs. But still, we recognize the need to understand our local industry and try to protect it when and why it's needed. So even though we sign these FTAs, we also have exclusions of certain tariffs that can affect our local industry. The next, please. Thank you. So, so when people think about Ecuador, and moreover about the strategically positioned localization, we are the nearest point to Asia from South America, and we are the third most important port in South America, behind Santos and Mezcalilla of Mexico. Ecuador has been one of the investment destinations in the past, I'll say 3-4 years. And why is that? First of all, we are a dollarized economy. Second of all, right now, under President Noboa leadership, we have economic stability, we have fiscal and political stability, which is good news for investors. Also, we have a policy of international trade, of openness to the world. We have natural resources such as water, agriculture, mining, etc. We right now have tax benefits for foreign investors. We have qualified human talent. We are geographically and logistically have an advantage. And also we have developed infrastructure. We have roads, we have ports. We have Dubai ports that has a really big port here in Ecuador. So we are trying to attract investment, but still we know that Ecuador has to be prepared for all the investors in order for them to look to Ecuador as a priority. What are the actions that we have been doing in the minister that I lead? Is that under President Noboa's leadership, he has sent to the National Assembly for approval, to the Parliament, 2 economic urgent laws. The first was the Economic Efficiency and Employment Generation Act, and the second one was the Energy Competitive Law. Both of these laws has set a base for attracting new investments. The first one set the legal framework for free trade zones that Ecuador didn't have prior to this. And since we have the Energy Competitiveness Law, right now what Ecuador offers is to be able to delegate not only the generation of electricity, but also the distribution of electricity, which prior to this law was all public. And this opens a new chapter for investors, because we understand as a government that we do not have all the resources and we do not have all the technology to do that very efficient. So President Noboa is a very pragmatic president. He wants things to be done very quickly, and he understands the need of the people. So that's why he sent these two economic urgent laws to the parliament, and they were passed with over 100 votes out of 137. The next, please. All other things that this law included was alternative dispute resolution in the IPAs that it wasn't contemplated before. And we think as a government, it is very important to not only have arbitration as a mean of, dispute resolution, we also have to include mediation as one. President Noboa also included more deductions of your income tax if you employ young people between 18 and 29 years old, and you have further deductions if they are graduated from public universities. Also, we included a clause of stability of the tax benefits, and right now President Noboa has called for a constitutional reform, a referendum that will be passed on April 21st, where we are trying to modify Article 422 of the Constitution that right now prohibits Ecuador to have investment, government dispute resolution, arbitration in an international forum. And right now we're trying to change that in order for Ecuador to be able to sign international arbitration for investors' government dispute resolution. Next one, please. What is an APA? Basically, it's an agreement between a private investor and Ecuadorian government, which is honored by a public deed. This instrument has led a lot of investors to understand that it really generates legal certainty and the tax benefit stability when you go for an investment over $100 million. And additionally, for the mining sector, we have other type of tax benefits, such as the VAT, the income tax, and the outflow tax. So what this IPA really does is that it gives certainty and stability for investors. Also, these IPAs can last up to 15 years, and you can renovate it for 15 years more if you demonstrate that you still need to do more investments on the same project. And it has a minimum amount on investment of $1 million during the whole period. And at least you have to invest $100,000 in the first year of the IPA. The next one, please. So what are the tax benefits? We have income tax, we have current outflow tax, which is when you try to take the money out of Ecuador, as we are a dollarized economy, but still we cannot print our money. We have to try to keep the dollars inside our economy, and that's why we charge 5% of each dollar that you want to take out, no? And we have also the tax duties, which are exempted in the IPAs and in other types of investment. The next, please. These are the IPAs that Ecuador has signed in the mining sector, and it's really very important because it demonstrates how Ecuador is right now very compromised with mining. We think that Ecuador will be seen as one of the mining destinations in South America. And as you may see, We have done a lot in mining. Most of these projects, the amounts of the investments have been done between exploration and exploitation. And the investment of these IPAs has been for more than 4.4 billion and has created already more than 4,000 jobs. On the free trade zones, which I'm very proud that we can now present this to the world. I've been fighting for over than 4 years to trying to pass the Free Trade Zones Act in the parliament, and President Noboa is a great believer that this type of regime can create a new set of investments in Ecuador for the private sector. So right now, it can be created by a public or a private initiative. It can last at least for 30 years and can be renewed for the same term, the number of times needed. It replaced the economic zones, which we had prior to this act. And right now, we also understood that the free zones had to be very interested for SMEs. So we have no minimum investment amount required, and there's no minimum of size of land required to establish a free trade zone. Also, it has to be polyfunction. It cannot be single company, it have to be multi-company. And the activities that you can perform these free zones are industrial production of goods, services, trade, and logistics. The next, please. We have tax benefits such as income tax exemption for the first 5 years, and then a 10-point reduction of the income tax, which will lead to a 15% tax tariff. We have an exemption of all the duties of all the goods and raw materials that you buy and get into the free zones. Also, you will have a refund of the VAT on all the domestic purchases, and there's an exemption to pay the currency outflow tax of the 5%. And also, there's the income tax exemption on dividends paid by the operators and the users to their shareholders. The next, please. What are other benefits we have for investors in Ecuador? We have right now a temporary tax residency, which what was the main idea when we were trying to put or try to settle this public policy? We understand that right now the world has 100 million digital nomads, and we understand that countries such as Mexico and Costa Rica has been attracting these digital nomads because of their tax regimes and benefits. So as Ecuador, we are a very touristic country, and we didn't have anything to attract digital nomads. So we created this regime, this residency, which is very important also for the Minister of Tourism, because we understand that by 2030, we will have 1 billion digital nomads in the world. And we want to be one of those countries that has a regime, a residency created for them. So they can be established in Ecuador, they can pay taxes, but still they can be so comfortable that they do not have to run away because the residency, the tax residency is evil for them. We want it to be very welcome for the digital nomads. The next, please. And then we have the PPPs, the public-private partnerships, which was introduced in the Economic Efficiency and Employment Act as well. The president selected strategic sectors such as water, biodiversity, energy, radioelectric spectrum, non-renewable, telecommunications, hydrocarbon transportation. So there's a new procedure to settle these PPPs, and thank you. So what we've seen as a government is that when we want to promote and try to attract investors, we have to say or understand what are the opportunities. So we think as a government that investors have opportunity in tourism, in real estate, aquaculture, agriculture, manufacture, technology, transport, infrastructure, agro-industry, and energy. The second, please, the next. And that's all of my presentation. If you have any inquiry or question, I'll be gladly to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for your introductory remarks. I want to remind all the participants that you can send your questions using the application in the bottom of your screens. I will be happy to read them. So I would like to take advantage also of my role as a moderator to make a first question, and it's mainly related to the agreements, Minister, that you mentioned with mining companies that you were able to sign during your recent trip to Canada. Could you go more into the details of those agreements and what will be, let's say, the time frame for the execution of those projects and the potential production and export that will be expected from them?
Yes. Well, first of all, these IPAs, what they are trying to do is try to protect the investors during their exploration and exploitation phase. I think out of the 6, I think that 4 are for exploitation and the other 2 are for exploration. When we are talking about exploration, they do not know really what they're going to find and the amount of exports that it will be producing. About the other 4 IPAs, the time frame of the implementation or execution of these investments really depend on other type of permits. Most of them are waiting for environmental permits, or they are waiting for, because here in Ecuador you have to do a consultancy to the communities in order for them to agree in the exploitation. So most of them are in that stage where they are waiting for the consultancy to take place, and afterwards they hope that probably we will have all these 4 IPAs in execution the second semester of 2024. But for them, it's very important to have the IPA signed prior to the execution, because they have enough time to import equipment and do the investments in building the infrastructure prior the exploitation. So right now I do not have the correct and precise numbers of the amount, but what I do know is that Ecuador right now is exporting more than $3.5 billion in mining, including gold, copper, and other minerals. And right now it's the fourth product of export, mining, and I think they will be the first or probably the second product or amount of exports that Ecuador has, probably in 2027, 2028, because most of these infrastructures take between 1 and 2 years to be built. So right now we will not see the results of these IPAs. We will see them between 2026 and beyond.
You also mentioned the question that you are including in the referendum for the possibility of using international arbitration that I imagine is something that probably for some of these companies will be very, very attractive and valuable, no? How would that be implemented? So will it be automatically, will it imply automatically a reform of the constitution if the question is approved in the referendum, or does it have to go through the assembly to be ratified?
Well, it has to go to the Constitutional Court for the writing of how the article is going to set. Because when you ask the question, you ask the Ecuadorians, do you agree that Ecuador will be able to go international arbitration for investors, government, dispute resolution? And if you have the majority that goes for the yes, then the Constitutional Court has to provide for the writing of the article. It doesn't need parliament approval because it's a referendum. It's the voice of the people talking through the referendum. So we are very eager to have the referendum on the way, and we hope that Ecuadorians really understand the need to open Ecuador to foreign investors.
Perfect. I think we're getting some questions here from the audience. The first one comes from Alex Diaz, and it's related to the shrimp sector that, as you know, is also one of the key sectors of the Ecuadorian economy and one of the leading ones on the export side. And Alex would like to know what is the plan of the government to promote this important sector.
Well, in fisheries, I have fisheries and aquaculture. So shrimps is one of my main objectives. Right now, we have two main problems. Ecuador is one of the countries that has invested a lot in genetics. So right now, Ecuadorian shrimp is one of the most resilient shrimp available, and the quality is the best. But as we have developed technology for investment for genetics, the price of the shrimp is has reduced, and we have right now so much shrimp in the market that the price has declined, and we have the exporters that even though we increase the number of pounds we exported, the price decline. So we understand that as a sector, we are trying to understand how, as a government, we can help the sector, but we are not going to subsidize a sector that is right now the first product of export. We exported $7.5 billion only in shrimp last year, and it succeed. I don't know how to say it, but it was the main product of export. Even the amount of exports of shrimp was even greater than petroleum of oil. So it's very important for us. And also we have a lot of small producers of shrimp that they are not able to compete with these big producers because they have economies of scale, and they are able to invest in more technology than the small ones. So the decrease in the price has affected a lot to the small farmers more than the big ones, because the big ones were able to produce more pounds that they require. So right now, Ecuador provides for 60% of China's shrimp market. And we are trying to see which other markets we are able to attack, such as we think the Middle East is one of those markets that we are trying to see how we can try to build synergies. That's why when I went to Abu Dhabi, we were able to get this interest of the UAE for an FTA because right now they are buying a lot of Ecuadorian products.
Related also to shrimp, so this is a sector, fishing, so these are sectors that are also big consumers of fuel, no? And so one of the priorities of the administration seems to be trying to reduce this subsidy that implies a heavy burden for the public finances, no? Is that something that so you have been involved, something that you think will be targeted in a better way, or are you considering any strategies that might help both the government and this sector of the economy to deal with this important issue?
Yes, we have fisheries subsidies and we have aquaculture subsidies. The thing with aquaculture is that since 2022, the subsidies of fuel for farms greater than 30 acres has been prohibited. So only the small farms have the fuel subsidy still in aquaculture. In fisheries, we have the artisan fisheries and the industries that they have subsidized fuels.
I have here another question from Nadir Kuria from Covendrium Capital related to the cacao market, where there seems to be a severe crisis, partly due to over-reliance of supply from Africa. He would like to know if Ecuador is analyzing this as an opportunity to potentially gain market share in the cacao market.
Yes, we've seen that the price of the ton right now has been skyrocketed. Ecuador, we've seen from a lot of scientific studies, is one of the countries where cacao started, and we're trying to take advantage of the wave that is of the price, and the cacao producers and exporters had really taken advantage of the situation of Africa. We understand that when you have an advantage in one country, not all the countries can take that advantage. And even though we are very sad that Africa is going through this, it's important for Ecuador's cacao because we've been suffering the decline of the price the last years, because Africa was able to produce without any type of sustainability cacao. When you come to Ecuador and you see the traceability and the policies of sustainability that we have as Ecuador for all of agricultural process, because we sell to the EU, and you know the EU has one of the most high standards in quality and in supply chain for products, we really take as a serious matter the supply chain of cacao. And right now we've seen that it's paying off, the thing that Ecuador took from prior years, that the public policy had to take into consideration sustainability and traceability. I think I have time for one more question. I'm so sorry. They're waiting for me in another meeting.
Okay, perfect. Let me put together two questions that are related to free trade agreements. The first one is related to the one with China. If you have any estimate about the potential impacts that could have in terms of job creation, and also regarding the possibility of a trade agreement with the US, if that's something that is completely off the table and stop because of the elections, or if you see any scope to advance on these negotiations over the coming months.
Okay, on the China, we have projected around 50,000 jobs created during we projected from 2024 until 2050 that we will create 50,000 jobs out of the FTA with China. And also we think that we'll be able to increase our exports by $4 billion as well. And with the US, first of all, we are pursuing the IDEA Act, which is a law that tries to hooks on a preferential system that the US gave the CARICOM countries. That's why I met with a lot of CARICOM countries representatives when I was in the MC13 in order for them to support Ecuador in this IDEA Act. I had meetings also with Ambassador Tai, which is the USTR representative, in order for her to know that we are very looking forward to have the IDEA Act passed. But we do not know, because right now we do not have an ambassador in DC because Ambassador Baki went to France. So right now we have that vacancy that is very important to be filled. And I think that very soon President Noboa will announce who will be taking care of that embassy. And from there, I think we will be taking all the leads in order to still doing the lobbying with the Congress and the Senate for them to pass this IDEA Act on an omnibus law. And we think that election year is not appropriate for an FTA. They are not concentrated, and the USTR told us that the US had some negotiations ongoing for other FTAs with other countries, and they stopped it, and they are in standby because of election year. So even though the US, I think, is very invested in trying to help Ecuador, and if they really have the interest in help Ecuador, passing the IDEA Act, which will help 96% of all the Ecuadorian products that go into the US with preferential system, it will be very helpful because we will be more competitive in the US market. The difference between the US market and the EU market is that the US market is a price concentrated market. The EU is a quality based market. So we are more focused on quality than in price, because as a dollarized economy, we're not able to compete with Colombia and Peru in terms of cost of production. So we try to focus on quality, and that's why we need this FTA, so Ecuadorian products are able to get into the markets and be competitive.
Right. So certainly many interesting things happening in Ecuador. Minister, we really appreciate your time, given how busy is your agenda these days. We look forward to remain engaged and to have you in future programs over the coming months and years. So,
sure. Thank you so much for having me. Whenever you need to have me here, please count on me. Very pleased to share all these experiences and what we are trying to do from this ministry to help Ecuador to be positioned as an investment destination, and also to see Ecuadorian products quality in terms of the value that Ecuadorian products have. So thank you so much for having me, and have a really, really nice day.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Minister Garcia and Alejandro for this excellent program that help us to a better understanding of the trade and investment development at this moment in Ecuador. I would like to congratulate Alexandra Vaquerizo, Lori Dominguez, and Linda Calvet for organizing this excellent program. Pass it to Maria Rosa to give the final remarks. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you, Minister. It was a great opportunity for us to listen to the exchange with Alejandro, and congratulations on job creating opportunities for Ecuador and positioning Ecuador exports at a better place. So thank you for that. And also, I would like to update you on the upcoming programs. We will have an Andean program on energy in the region. Invitations will follow. And the last reminder is that we are a non-for-profit organization. And if you would like to sponsor or join into the membership, you can reply to the invitation of today to the Ecuadorian American Association. We look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you for your interest. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.